Hey Bidwell Prez, I'm Pastor Ray, and I'm glad you're joining us, whether you're joining us as part of our worshiping community more generally, or whether you're joining us as part of a Monday motivational. We're just glad you're here. Hey, yesterday I preached a sermon called Recovering the Epic, and I was so moved by this a passage in Ephesians. I just wanted to get right into it. It says, and I'm going to read it to you right now, chapter 1, verses 8 and 9, with all wisdom and insight, God has made known to us the mystery of his will, according to his good pleasure that he set forth in Christ, as a plan for the fullness of time, to gather up all things in him, things in heaven and things on earth. It's a cosmic statement. It's an invitation to live into this big, this grand, this meta or epic story of God. It includes not only what we do on Sunday morning, but also what happens in our families, what happens in how we think about our nation and the world and our neighborhoods. So every square inch of creation is really an invitation to worship. We're asking this question: what does it mean right now? In light of all that's happening at Bidwell and in light of all that's happening around us, what does it mean to be a worshiping community? I'm joined by Jensen today. Chris is our worship director. He works in partnership with Mikhail Goodwin to make music and visuals on Sunday morning happen. And so, Chris, when you hear this question, what does it mean to be a worshiping community? How do you respond?
It's a lot, because it's not just like playing a guitar or playing a keyboard or whatever. It's not just singing a song.
Yeah.
It's way more than that. Those are all things that are part of it, but that's just a tool to worship. Worship it's a response for what happens on the inside. And so worship for me, it's a reaction to when I'm actually paying attention to what God's doing. It's a reaction that goes, oh yeah, this is great, God's working in my life. And then as a community, it's when we come together and we do that for one another. So we encourage one another by saying, this is what God's doing in my life, what's God doing in your life? And that's where we grow. That's where we worship, to me, and that's where I grow in worship.
Yeah, and I appreciate the way Chris is talking about how it's a response, or like he said, a reaction. It's this first willingness to pay attention to what God is up to in our lives, in our church, and second, it's a response to that. I've often heard that the only genuine response, if you're paying attention to what God is up to, is wow. And certainly Ephesians would lead us there. It's a wow moment. So this video is really a call to worship, not just simply on Sunday morning, not just simply to gather in worship, although that's really important. It's also to frame our whole week as an opportunity to respond to what God is doing. In what ways are you paying attention? What spiritual practices help you do that? And how can your whole life be living into the story of God, a response of worship and praise? Thanks for joining us today. Happy Monday.